Some crimes are hidden with violence, others are buried under paperwork. But the most effective crimes are erased so completely that future generations never even realize something is missing. In the American South, slavery is often remembered through chains, plantations, and auctions. But there exists another chapter, quieter, darker, and far more carefully concealed. Between 1843 and 1852, at least 17 children born to enslaved women in South Carolina disappeared. They were not recorded as dead, they were not sold, they were not freed. They were removed from history. This is the story of how those children vanished and how an entire system made sure no one ever asked where they went. The Carolina Lowcountry stretched along the Atlantic coast, marshes, tidal rivers, rice fields, and forests thick with cypress and oak. By the 1840s, this region was one of the wealthiest agricultural zones in America. Rice plantations generated massive profits, built entirely on enslaved labor. Charleston stood at the center, elegant homes and churches, masking a brutal truth. Nearly half the city's population lived in bondage. Slavery here was not just physical labor. It was law, medicine, religion, and social order. And in this world, appearance meant everything. White meant freedom, black meant property. Anything that blurred that line was dangerous. By the early 19th century, generations of sexual violence had created enslaved communities with varied skin tones and features. Some children were born light-skinned. Some had straight hair, some had green or blue eyes. These children frightened plantation owners not because they were rare, but because they challenged the logic of slavery itself. If a child born to an enslaved woman could pass as white, then whiteness was no longer a guarantee of power. At the same time, wealthy, white families faced high infant mortality and infertility. Adoption carried stigma, and legal pathways were limited. A dangerous solution began to emerge. Fairhope Plantation. Fairhope Plantation lay along the Ashley River, surrounded by marshland and shaded by ancient oaks. It was owned by Thomas Carlson, a man known for discipline, efficiency, and silence. Carlson lived on the plantation year-round. He avoided attention, he avoided scandal. Among the enslaved workers was Rhina, a seamstress assigned to the main house. She repaired clothing and linens and worked close to the planter's family. Rhina was light-skinned, with hazel eyes. No one ever asked why. In early 1843, Rhina became pregnant. She told no one. In December, she gave birth. The midwife nearly cried out. The baby's skin was pale. Her eyes were unmistakably blue. Rhina named her Lily. For weeks, Rhina kept Lily hidden, claiming the child was sickly. But secrets did not survive long in the slave quarters. By March 1844, Thomas Carlson was informed. He asked to see the baby. Witnesses later recalled his reaction as calm, almost detached. That night, Carlson summoned his overseer, Duncan Hayes, to the main house. They spoke privately for hours. Hayes later wrote that Carlson was not concerned with the child herself, but with what such a child represented. Within weeks, a visitor arrived, Samuel Porter, a traveling merchant known for discreet business. Porter walked through the quarters slowly, studying children, making notes. 3 days later, he left with a sealed envelope. On a warm June morning in 1844, Rhina laid Lily in her cradle. By midday, the cabin was empty. The blanket was still warm. There was no sign of struggle. No blood, no torn fabric. A search was staged. Woods, barns, riverbanks, everything was examined. Nothing was found. Carlson calmly suggested that an animal might have taken the child. Rhina knew better. Animals do not leave cradles untouched. That night, she stopped speaking Lily's name. 200 miles away, In Columbia, South Carolina, a lawyer named Robert Brennan and his wife received a baby girl. They were told she was an orphaned relative. A falsified birth certificate was quietly filed by a cooperative clerk. Money changed hands. The child was renamed Sarah Brennan. Legally, socially, and permanently she was white. Lily no longer existed. She was the first. Over the next 7 years, 16 more children vanished from plantations across South Carolina. Each case followed the same pattern: light-skinned child. Disappearance before age 1, no death record, no sale record. The prices ranged from $800 to $1,500 per child, a fortune at the time. The network depended on merchants for transportation, doctors to falsify records, lawyers to create new identities, clerks willing to look away, and above all, silence. The mothers had no legal standing, no right to testify, no protection. The women whose children were taken were warned never to speak. Some were punished, others were sold away, many vanished without explanation. Grief became communal, names were whispered at night. Descriptions memorized, details passed down like forbidden prayers. The children were gone, but not forgotten. Duncan Hayes, the overseer, kept a private journal. He recorded dates, names, and movements not out of compassion, but fear. He understood that what he was witnessing could destroy powerful men. In 1852, dying of tuberculosis, Hayes confessed everything to a woman named Catherine, whose son had been taken. He told her where the children were. Catherine did not act publicly. Instead, she told the other mothers. A hidden archive formed, not written, but remembered, names, addresses, new identities. When Catherine was sold south and disappeared, the knowledge survived. An abolitionist newspaper in Philadelphia received a detailed account of the network. The editor believed it, but enslaved women were legally forbidden to testify. Without witnesses, the story could not be fully printed. The truth existed, but justice did not. By 1852, the network shut down quietly. No arrests were made, no trials were held. No record survived. The children grew up white. They married, had children, died without ever knowing the truth. Their mothers carried the grief to the grave. This was not just slavery, it was human trafficking, identity theft, and historical erasure. Children were stolen not only from their mothers but from their past. Some crimes leave bodies. Others leave graves. This one left silence. And sometimes, silence tells the loudest story of all.